Banteay Srei Temple. Banteay Srei lies near the hills of Phnom Dei and Kulen, some 35 kilometers northeast of Siem Reap. Banteay Srei is built largely of a pinky sandstone. History. Banteay Srei means the city of women and is a modern name possibly named by local residents, around 16th or 17th century, because of the intricacy of the carvings found on the walls and the tiny dimensions of the buildings. But the original name of the temple was Tribhuvana Mahesvara, which means the Great Lord of the Three Worlds, Tri meaning three, Bhuvana meaning world, and Mahesvara referring to the Great Lord Shiva. The three worlds are, hell, located under our feet, men, located on earth, and the world of gods in heaven. The old town of Banteay Srei was Isvarapura, the holy city of Isvara. Consecrated 967 AD to the Hindu god Shiva, Banteay Srei was built by a royal Brahman, named Yajnavaraha, and was assisted by his brother Vishnukumara. Yajnavaraha was an advisor to King Rajendravarman II, who ruled the Khmer Empire from 944 to 968 AD, and after the king 11 died he became a guru of the king's son Jayavarman V. Function of the temple. From inscription found in the temple, there were villages situated around the temple. There were gardens, flowers, birds and animals in the temple. There were many people, both male and female, engaged in the caretaking of the temple and its grounds. The management of the temple was under the supervision of Yajnavaraha. Guests and pilgrims were honored when visiting the temple through the offer of food. Prasit Banteay Srei also served as a center for education, art and culture. The teachers and students used to live on site. The inscription mentioned that Yajnavaraha learned in sacred scriptures, ancient sciences, philosophy, ethics, astrology and Buddhist philosophy. He knew many languages and scripts, and he was proficient in dance as well as in instrumental music. He used the knowledge to teach both his younger brother and students in the temple. Restoration and conservation. Banteay Srei was rediscovered in 1914, and it became the subject of a celebrated case of art theft when André Malraux, a Frenchman, stole 4 figures from the temple in 1923. He was soon arrested and the figures returned. They were reinstated through the first important use of anastylosis at Angkor, whereby a ruined building or monument is restored using the original architectural elements to the greatest degree possible. To prevent water damage to the site, the joint Cambodian-Swiss Banteay Srei Conservation Project installed a drainage system between 2000 and 2003. Measures were also taken to prevent damage to the temple's walls from nearby trees. Unfortunately, the temple has been ravaged by pilfering and vandalism when, toward the end of the 20th century, authorities removed some original statues and replaced them with concrete replicas. Looters took to attacking the replicas. A statue of Shiva and his wife Uma, removed to the National Museum in Phnom Penh for safekeeping, was attacked in the museum itself. Plan and the building's function. The description of plan of buildings and their function starts with the main gate at the eastern side. The outer gopura, first wall. This gopura is cross-shaped and no enclosing wall attached to it. Probably wooden structures formed a large side have door pediments. The one on the east is much more intricately carved with motifs surrounding an image of Indra sitting on a three-head elephant, Airavat, which is his vehicle. Indra is the god of sky and rain and the god of eastern, sunrise, direction. Below Indra is Kala, the mythological being considered to be guardian of the door. Kala serves as a protector for the temple and is seen above the doorways. Symbolically, Kala represents time and is a reminder of the finite time available in one's life to achieve the real purpose of human life. There is an arch over the pediment on whose ends is Makara, an oceanic mythical being, spewing 3 naga heads. On upper portion of the pediment there are some regular cut holes which were used for beams to support a wooden and tiled roof. Causeway, pillared galleries and side long rooms. Between the first gopura and second gopura is a 65-meter-long causeway which is flanked by 32 small decorative pillar posts. On both sides of the causeway, the laterite walled galleries have now largely disappeared but still have their door pediments visible. Originally, these galleries had tiled roofs and were used by pilgrim for meditation and sacrifice fire for calling God down for blessing. The pediment of the south gallery is decorated with an image of Shiva and his consort, Parvati, sitting on a bull Nandi. At the end of the pediment a Makara, symbol of the mythical being of ocean, is spewing a 3-head serpent and this represents rainwater. Standing bird is a Garuda, heavenly eagle which represents the immortality. The pediment of north gallery is decorated an image of Narasimha, the 4th reincarnation of Vishnu on earth, with his body of a man and with a lion's head, killing a demon Hiranyakashipu. At the end of the causeway to the west, right-hand side, there is a pediment lying on the Virat seizes Rama's wife, Sita. The 2 men holding swords at each ground. It depicts a scene from side of the demon are Rama and Laxma superscript 2. The Ramayana in which a demon Virat seizes Rama's wife, Sita. The 2 men holding sword at each side of the demon are Rama and Laxma. The second enclosure. The enclosure wall is rectangular measuring 95 by 110 meters made of laterite and the gopura is made from sandstone but the missing pediments have been moved to a museum in France. The beautiful pediment depicted a part of myth of Mahabharata about the dispute of evils, Sunda and Upasunda over Tilottama. 6 inscriptions, from different periods giving value information about the temple, are written in Sanskrit and ancient the Khmer languages can be found on the doorframes inside of this gopura. One inscription, of 969 AD, mentions the visit of King Jayavarman V to Banteay Srei temple a year after its foundation. Another inscription, of 1011 AD, tells that King Suryavarman I ordered the pious foundations of Mratan Klan Cinder to the god Sri Tribhuvana Mahesvara. Mratan Klan Samape is engaged to guard the property and for this service a piece of land is granted to him, his relations and his descendants in perpetuity. Another inscription, of 1197, recorded an annual donation of firewood by one Tripatak, living at Mahesvarapura and similar donations were made to the servants of the temple of Lord Shambhu, established at Isvarapura, for the well-being of the people living in this temple. Within the gopura there is a decorative pedestal with a hole with a channel facing the north which was probably once held a statue of a god or a Shiva linga. The second causeway and a moat. Going inside from the second gopura is another laterite causeway crossing the moat which encircles the temple. Originally, the moat had stairs at the borders and was full of water when the temple was functional. Today is always empty during dry season. The water in the moat around the temple served the practical needs of daily life of the people living at the temple. Its presence was equally essential for the spiritual purposes as the water around the temple helped the creation and storage of spiritual energy in the temple. The third enclosure. The rectangular enclosure wall measuring 32 by 42 meters encloses the third gopura, which has 2 porches and triangular door pediments. Remarkable ornamental decorations, including lotus flowers and mythical beings, are carved on the large pediments. The carvings are a style like a snail that it is for also at Priya Vihir temple situated on the Cambodia-Thai border. A god kneeling above Kala depicted on the pediment of the first porch. And on the second pediment a beautifully carved goddess Lakshmi and is shown being watered by 2 elephants. She is known as Gajalakshmi. She is the goddess of fortune, all prosperity. Below the image is a head of Garuda, the Mount Lord Vishnu. The pediment has 3 different colors: pink, gray and yellow of the original stone. Midway on the inner side of the gopura there are 2 pedestals lying close together. The larger has 2 rectangular holes that may have been used for the attachment of 2 deities, Lord Shiva and Goddess Uma. Another, lower, pedestal has a wide rectangular hole deep down to the ground where a statue of a sacred bull, which is the sacred vehicle of the 2 deities Shiva and Uma, may have been placed. 2 stone carving of lotus bloom can be seen inside of gopura. Function of long halls. Inside the third enclosure wall are 6 long halls made from laterite with doors of decorative sandstone. The roof may, originally, have had roof tiles. The function of these buildings was as a place for visiting pilgrims coming for sacred purposes like worship, meditation, recitation of holy scriptures, chanting of mantras, performing yajna, the sacred offerings and fire sacrifices. The long hall to the southwest has inscriptions on the doorframe reading the images of Vaidshwari, the goddess of learning, and Vidya gurus, the respected spiritual teachers, were established here. Lintels and pediments of the 2 long halls on the eastern side are finely carved. There is a half-broken of Nandi, vehicle of Shiva god, placed in front of the 4th gopura, and it faces to the main shrine of the temple. The 4th enclosure. The enclosure made of brick measuring 24 meters square. This enclosure has an entry on the eastern side made of sandstone and remains in good condition, but the western side is in ruin. This was made of brick, and an image of Uma Mahesvara, Lord Shiva and Goddess Uma, was originally placed here. The east gopura of the central area. The smallest the gopura, the eastern, has a narrow entry door and 4 false windows with balusters. On the surface of its wall are some most attractive motif carvings and decoration. On the eastern door pediment, an image of Lord Shiva with multiple hands expresses his sacred dance action. Also seen is a god playing a drum and a skinny female, Kirikalamir, are shown on corners of base of the pediment. Lord Shiva is dancing to dissolve the beauty of Kirikalamir. Below the pediment is a beautiful lintel showing a headless male deity, probably Lord Krishna, holding the heads of demons of an elephant and a lion. At another side of this gopura, where there is no access, has a pediment with an image of goddess Durga with many hands carrying different attributes. She is standing on her mount, a lion, killing the demon Mahishasura, which is shown in the form of a buffalo tied with snakes. A lintel below the pediment shows the god Vishnu in the form of Hayagriva, a horse head with a four-armed human body. He is holding the heads of two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba, on his thighs prior to killing them. West Gopura. Behind the central shrines, to the west, is the gopura of the four enclosure, and it is the exit door for visitors. On the pediment is a relief depiction of a story from the Ramayana where the monkeys Valan and Sugriva are engaged in a duel. Rama helps Sugriva to kill Valan by standing behind a tree to shoot the fatal arrow. The central area. There are two library buildings located on the grounds to the south and north which have closed doors to the east and open doors to the west. The door pediments on the southern library depict the stories of Lord Shiva, while, on the northern library, they show stories of Lord Vishnu as Sri Krishna. In the central area, the three main shrines are placed on a 0.90 meter high T-shaped terrace with four stairways leading to the central shrine in each cardinal direction. The stairway on the eastern side leads only to the northern and southern shrines. The central area of Banteay Srei is full of beautiful buildings carved like ornaments. The doorways are crowned with the usual ornate Khmer lintels. All the three central shrines have beautiful false doors. All the lintels on the doors are decorated with stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana myth. Function of the two libraries. South Library. The function of the South Library was for storing the sacred scripture of the Veda and the Purana, which were recited non-stop in the temple. This library has pediments with three superimposes, representing peaks of mountain, depicted mythology stories on both sides of east and west. Pediment on the false door at the east. This pediment has a piece of bas-relief depicted stories about Ravana, king of demons, with his multiple hands and heads, lifting Mount Kailasha to interrupt the meditation of Shiva, sitting with his wife Uma. From the scene hold his frightened wife, Uma, and another hand to carry a bunch of Lord Shiva is using one hand to mount Kailasha. Living beings like elephants, lions, monkeys, deer rice stem. One of his legs has his toe pointing feel fear of the moment of the lifting mountain by Ravana. Pediment on the opening door at the west. On this pediment is depicted a part of story where Shiva reduces Kama, god of love, to ash. From the scene, Lord Shiva is sitting on top under the trees passing his rosary to Parvati, his consort to his right. Kama, a god of love, is kneeling whilst aiming his powerful arrow to distract Lord Shiva from his meditation. Rithi, wife of Kama, is standing behind him with a lotus in her hand. Below them, Shiva devotees are sitting and talking to each other, and some of them are the gods, Asura, ascetics. Their animals are nearby. Some devotees have human bodies with heads of lion, horse, Garuda, monkey, and elephant. Nandi, the vehicle of Shiva, is also shown, at the lower level, in the midst of devotees. North Library. The function of the North Library was for keeping holy scriptures and all the worshipping material. This library has the same form and architecture as the South Library, with the west door opening, the blind door is to the east, and it has 3 superimposed pediments. Pediment on the false east door. The story is from the Mahabharata. This pediment has images of the god Indra standing on an elephant accompanied by his devotees. He provided a deluge of rain, represented by wave of water, to stop the god of fire from burning a forest. The forest, represented by trees, was the residence of the king of serpents, a friend of god Indra, lions, deer, elephants, monkeys and birds. Those beings are terrifying and running away from the flames. 2 warriors, Krishna and Arjuna, on their chariots pulled by horses, are using their magical arrows, represented by vertical strips, shooting up against the rain falling from the sky, this being represented by the roe birds. Pediment on the opening door at the west. The pediment is showing a part-story Mahabharata that Krishna is killing Kansa, the wicked uncle. From the carving, Krishna is carrying a sword in one hand and another hand is dragging Kansa's hair for killing. Function of the 3 main shrines. The Northern Shrine. According to the inscription found on the door frame of the Northern Shrine, an image of Lord Vishnu is a spiritual friend and a relative of Yajnavaraha. In the image, Lord Vishnu had 4 arms and is wearing a mukut, a diadem. He was shown in a very youthful state and he may be in form of Krishna. The shrine was worshipped by Vishnukumara, the younger brother of the temple founder Yajnavaraha. The shrine has lintels decorated with scenes from the great Indian epic Mahabharata. The eastern door has the image of Lord Vishnu in the incarnation of Narasimha, the lion man clawing the tyrant king Hiranyakashipu 11. The southern door has Lord Shiva, in the form of a Kirat, the tribal chief fighting with Arjuna, about a wild boar. The fight takes place between them on the dispute as to who was the first to hit the wild boar whilst Arjuna was undergoing penance in a forest to obtain divine weapons from Indra. The western door is representing Lord Vishnu sitting on Garuda. The northern door has Bhima tearing a tyrant king in apart. The Central Shrine. A phallic symbol installed on a pedestal yoni, and it names Tribhuvana Mahesvara and was devoted by Yajnavaraha. On the northern door lintel of the Sanctum Sanctorum shows the duel of Valin and Sug, Riva superscript 1s from the sacred Ramayana. On its western door lintel again shows the abduction of Sita by the demon Virat. The South Shrine. From the inscription written on its door frame mentions that a Shiva linga, named Isvara, in the shrine and was worshipped by Janavadevi, Yajnavaraha's sister. Today only a pedestal still exists inside the shrine but not the linga. On the door pediments of all the shrines are sculpted the gods of their respective directions. On pediments of this shrine are the 4 guardians of Hinduism. The south ruled by the god Yama, the god of death, who sits on his buffalo. The north ruled by god Kuber, the god of wealth, sits on his seat, a pedestal. The west ruled by god Varuna, the god o water, sits on his mount Hansa the geese. And the east ruled by Indra, the king of heaven, sits on his mount the 3-head elephant, Aravat. Reveal the story from the reliefs. The goddess Durga kills demon Mahishasura. According to the Indian Purana, a long time ago there was a battle between Asura and Devas in which all of Asura's sons were killed in that fighting. Asura led his daughter to do a meditation for gaining boon from Lord Brahma. Asura's daughter disguised herself as a buffalo and sat down between 5 bonfires. The great conduct has invoked the 3 realms of heaven, earth and hell. This spectacle amazed Devas and Indra very much. Last she got a boon from the god that, you have perfect conduct. You will have a son which has a buffalo's head and a human body with immense power and will become a hero to rule over the heaven. As time passes, a young buffalo was born and grew up with immense power as the strength of the sea flood in the moonlight. The buffalo named Mahishasura combined with his troops and attacked Amravati, which was the city of the Devas. This war lasted 100 years and defeated Devas. The Devas fled to the place of Brahma and then to take refuge with Vishnu. Lord Vishnu and Shiva went into a rage after hearing Brahma's report. Fire splashed from Vishnu's and Shiva's mouth, and together with Indra and the other gods formed a lady goddess named Durga. Durga's Brahma, waist from Indra, head came from Shiva, her 2 arms came from Vishnu, her legs from Brahma, worst from Indra, hair from Yama, breasts from Chandra, thighs from Varuna, hips from the earth goddess, toes from the sun god, fingers from the wind god, nose and face from Kabura, and her teeth from the other 9 gods. So, the gods made Durga so powerful over the Asuras and Devas. Moreover, Vishnu gave 5 weapons, Shiva gave 10 immortalities and Brahma gave 4 more weapons. Additionally, the mountains and clouds gave her jewelry and other sacred weapons. She was covered in a bright armor and mounted on a lion as she headed for the demon Mahishasura to engage in battle. The fight between Durga and Mahishasura was fierce, with Durga jumping on the back of the buffalo and pressing demon's neck. The demon was unable to free himself from the goddess and finally was killed and had his head cut off by Durga's sword. Karakala Malar. According to Tamil legend, Karakala Malar was originally a beautiful girl living in the Indian port of Karakal. In her intense worship of Shiva, she neglected her duties as a spouse, and eventually her husband left for another woman. Desiring no longer to be troubled by men and to make her as ugly as possible, with the appearance of an emaciated Rakshasa, including bulging eyes, protruding teeth and pendulous breasts. The legend of Bringi. Once, when the gods and the rishis were paying homage to Shiva and Parvati, Bringi deliberately neglected Parvati. Furious, she reduced him to a skeletal shape, unable to stand on his weak legs. Shiva provided him with a 3rd leg to force him to try again. To further convince Bringi to worship also Parvati, Shiva assumed his androgynous from Isvarapura, half Shiva, half Parvati. However, the undaunted Bringi transformed himself into a bee, escaped and continued to worship only Shiva. Duel of Valan and Sugriva. Lord Brahma had given a boon to Valan which made him virtually impossible to defeat and kill. Whenever facing an enemy in a combat, Valan would get half of the strength from his opponent. Once Valan chased a demon Mayavi after killing his brother Dadabi. Mayavi entered into a cave where Valan followed him. But before entering into the cave, he instructed Sugriva to wait outside for a fortnight. He also said that if he didn't come out of the cave after the 15 days, Sugriva would understand that Valan had been killed. Sugriva has been waiting outside of the cave for a month, and after that he saw blood coming out of the cave. He assumed that his elder brother Valan was dead. He felt sadness immediately. He blocked cave with a giant rock. Then he returned to the kingdom as a king. But Valan was alive. When he came and saw Sugriva run his kingdom, he became furious. He drove Sugriva out of his kingdom and enslaved his wife as well. Valan said he would kill Sugriva when see him again. In the forest where Sugriva hid, and he met the two brothers Rama and Lasmana, who are searching for Sita, whom kidnapped by King of Demon Ravana. Rama promised to help Sugriva to kill his brother because he believed that Valan's crime was unpardonable as he has taken brother's wife. Rama asked Sugriva to ask Valan for a duel. Valan came and beat his brother badly as Rama could not differentiate one from another. The two brothers looked alike. Rama asked Sugriva again to invite Valan for a duel, and this time to wear a garland. During a battle, Rama killed Valan with an arrow passing through his heart. After the death of Valan, Sugriva ruled the kingdom. Agni burns the Khandava's forest. The burning of the Khandava forest. While Krishna and Arjuna were at rest in the Khandava forest, on the banks of the Yamuna, a resplendent Brahman ascetic approached them. He revealed himself as Agni, god of fire, and explained that, feeling very hungry, he sought to quell his appetite by eating the entire Khandava forest, together with all its creatures. However, Indra had been preventing Hai by raining heavily on the forest to save his friend, the snake Taksaka. To achieve his goal, Agni needed the help of these two boys and gave them magic weapons obtained from Varuna. Arjuna received the Gandiva bow with two inexhaustible quivers and a chariot pulled by horses as fast as the wind with the emblem of Hanuman, while Krishna was given the Surajshana discus and the Kamadaki club. The two heroes were thus equipped to fight Indra as well as any human or non-human, the Devas and Asura. At this moment Agni started to burn the forest, devouring it hungrily. Krishna and Arjuna, his allies, prevented the inhabitants from escaping by killing them one by one. The fire made the water in the ponds boil, killing fish and tortoises. The gods became distressed at the carnage, and Indra started to send rivers of water down on the burning forest. However, Arjuna created a barrage of arrows over the forest, thereby preventing the water from reaching the flames. The gods in the sky, the Asuras, the Rakshasas, and the Nagas in the forest, all took part in the fight, indicating that the three worlds were represented in the microcosm of the forest. Ultimately the gods accepted that Krishna and Arjuna were invincible and withdrew, leaving Agni to eat the forest. Shiva reduced Kamadeva to ash. Once the anger of Shiva subsided, it was replaced by inconsolable sorrow. He withdrew himself from the world and spent all his days in meditation. The Lord of the universe no longer took any interest in either worldly or heavenly affairs. He took up his abode in a desolate forest, close to a cremation ground, and abandoned the gods. Of course, this apathy could not be allowed to continue for long. For, without his guiding hand, the world was in danger of unraveling. Indra and the Devas were very worried. They went to Brahma and said, "Sir, our foes, the Asuras, have once again become powerful. It has been foretold that only the son of Shiva can lead us to victory over them this time. The Lord has lost his wife and has become a hermit, forsaking us all. We dare not approach him, but it is absolutely essential that he wed again, and beget a son who will be our savior." The plan was put into action. Uma, she was also called Parvati, was informed by the gods that she was to look after Shiva's needs while he performed his penance. Naturally, she was very glad to do so. Days passed, Parvati performed her duties diligently. However, Shiva did not even open his eyes. Meanwhile, Indra was growing impatient. His spies had already brought him news was Grawira army was gathering strength, and that an attack was imminent. He sent for Kama, the god of love, and said, "O Kama, only you can save the Devas. For our welfare, it is required that Shiva marry Parvati. She is at present waiting on Shiva, but the Lord has not even noticed her presence. Go immediately and make him fall in love with her." Kama judged that it was time. He strung his bow made of sugarcane and affixed a flower-tipped arrow to it. Impelled by his incantations, the arrow flew from the bow and struck Shiva squarely on his chest. The Lord felt the arrow, and simultaneously felt desire rise deep inside him. However, in a moment, he had regained control over his mind, and the desire was supplanted by anger. Omniscient, he immediately knew that this was the work of Kama. He opened his third eye, situated in the middle of his forehead, and glanced at the god of love. Such was the potency of his gaze that Kama was instantly reduced to ashes.